Hey, it's Fox. So, Ronan, lately I've been noticing that I've gone into a space where I don't like just talking about things. I want to do them. I want to experience them. And I notice myself not enjoying being around people as much who just talk about stuff. Theories. It's very theoretical. It's very like, well, maybe it's a concept. It's vague. I want to hear about actual things that they did that worked for them or that didn't work for them and what they learned from that. And basically, this applies to different areas of my life. And like last night, we were talking about an idea, talking about a move and a way to meet people. And you gave me something, and I was like, I got to do it. I have to do this right now. I have to do this tonight and put it into practice. And by doing that, it won't just be a concept or a theory or an idea. I'll have direct experience, and then I can start learning from that and get all fired up from that. And
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Right. So basically, the question is much deeper than it would seem, right? Because it kind of goes to the heart of a lot of things, right? So I'm just going to use the example. So like one of the guys here said an idea, and he said, I kind of like, what about this? I think this. And I cut him off and I said, basically, are you using that and having success? Right? And the answer is no, right? And so here's the thing. I don't think a lot of people, when they listen to my videos, like what I do, the reason why I don't make a video every day, every hour, is because when I say something, it's something that I have tested and I'm sure works. And I usually not only know it works, not only have I tested the idea, right? I've gone and used it, right? And also I've thought about, before I make a video, I try to also think about what I did so I can explain it somewhat in steps or in mindsets or something. So A, I did it physically, right? And then B, I went back and thought, okay, what did I do first? I went there. Oh, I didn't do that. I did this. I didn't do that. And the only reason why sometimes the ideas don't work is not because the idea that isn't tested and doesn't work. It's because they don't see me doing it. Sometimes there's like a little detail you're missing on something, right? And you're like, just that one key detail that you got the concept, you're almost doing it, and you just don't know, you don't know what the thing is that's a little different, right? So like like yesterday, like approaching people, right? Is you approach someone, said the right thing, stopped them, and they were like, they had a very strong reaction. And then just at that moment, you started talking and repeating yourself, kind of, right? And so what you could have done is just look at them and wait. You've said what you're going to say. They've had a strong reaction. And then you have to like withstand the pressure. We're talking about a pretty girl, by the way. Yeah. He's approaching a pretty young girl. And she had a very strong reaction, almost like so strong it surprised you. She was like taken aback.
I was like, did I do something wrong?
Yeah, like, did I do something wrong? What's going on here? Who are you? Like, what the fuck? She was like totally like, whoa. And then, because I was right there. And then you started talking gibberish, right? Yeah. So when you stopped her in the way that I was telling you, you were like kind of like Prince Charming in that moment. And so what Prince Charming does is he does what he does, and then he just waits, right? Like he asks a question and then he waits, and then she answers. He's confident and just he doesn't second guess himself. He doesn't like get nervous and pull out. He just kind of sits there, not like weird, but he just like he says something and he expects, you know what I mean? Like expects an answer, right? It's kind of like any serious man in life. Is you don't have to, like when you're young, so many guys come in like to a first summit and they're young and they still are nervous, and they'll laugh at just by themselves. They'll laugh at things that aren't funny and they'll yawn when they're not tired, just out of nervousness, right? They'll just like, yawn, like constantly, and it's because they don't know how to kind of sit in themselves yet, right? How to just kind of be there. And just be comfortable, right? I used to do that. I used to yawn when I was like working at Leo Stereo. I was like, I would find myself, and I couldn't figure out why. And some older guy kind of made fun of me, but I didn't understand. He didn't explain it to me, or he didn't help me, basically. He just kind of like, just pointed it out and tried to laugh at it, right? But I was like, now when I see young guys do it, I know it's because they're not yet confident in themselves, right? So when once you do something, you're confident in yourself. It doesn't mean that it's going to work, but you're confident in it. You're trying something, right? You're going to go for it, right? And you just wait for the response. If the response is not good, that's totally fine, and you're ready for that, I mean, because sometimes when you do something like I always talk about this with sales, but like you make a sales pitch to somebody or you start talking to somebody and then you don't get the response you want. What most sales guys do is they start talking more. They start talking, selling this way, selling that way. And the reason why I was top salesman every company I ever worked at was because I would recognize that they were stopping me. They were saying, see, you don't want to feel bad as a salesman. So you just want to keep going. Yeah. You're just like, hey, so what about this product? And then the guy doesn't buy it. You're like, oh, fuck that guy. He's poor, whatever. And then he wasn't serious. They come back and salesmen talk to each other, right? And so what I do is I'm like, okay, he's saying, this is all like, oh shit. I think I just cut off a bunch of shit. God damn it. That's recording, right? No, it stopped. Okay. I don't know how much I lost there. Anyway, I was talking about approaching someone in sales. And so I got a negative response in the beginning, somewhat negative, And so what I do is I go into that. I totally change my mode. I want to find out that they don't want to buy, right? And why? See, because I am interested in them. I want to know their situation. So he says, well, often it's not what you think. It's often not like, oh, I don't want this, or no, you're an idiot. It's often like something like, well, I have an older classic car. For example, when I was selling car stereos, right? Yeah. So I have an older classic car and I can't cut holes in it because that'll fuck it up, right? I'll lose value. So he's like, I need somebody who knows classic cars. So when I'm just talking, he's like hearing oh, this guy doesn't know anything about classic cars. But actually I do. I know what we can do to a classic car to make it good. But I need to hear, because we kind of think the worst. We're like, oh, he's wasting my time. Oh, he doesn't have any money. But instead I want to know. I say, oh, so it seems like you're not hesitant. Like, are you not, what is the deal? Are you not interested? Or what is what is your concern? And I listen to him and then he's like, well, every time I come to these places, the salesmen are full of shit, or they don't know anything, or that they tell me what they're thinking, right? And so then I have a chance. Now I actually know what they're thinking. So, for example, he might say something like, we just watched a movie over there, because there was a movie theater nearby. We just watched a movie. I wandered in here. I wasn't really ready to buy today, but I'm interested. And then I say, oh, totally cool. We're closing in half an hour. We can just burn half. There's no one in here. Let's go through your ideas and what you're thinking of, and let's figure out what will be the best thing for your car. So what kind of car do you guys? Is it outside? Let me see it. So then we start, looking in there, checking this, checking that. And the next thing you know, we're having a good time because he's like, oh, like a lot of salesmen, like, I'm just looking or something. They just walk away, or they're like, no one comes in here without looking, or, they just like, oh, see you later, And so I always want to know. And then next thing you know, we're talking in deep conversation. And they'll tell me, they'll say, look, I just lost my house in a divorce or something, and I can't buy anything right now. But I wanted to buy something. They'll tell me. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, that sucks. That's brutal. Yeah, divorce is brutal. They'll tell you, they'll start to tell me things, right? And then I'm fine. I'm not.
What really helps me get over my divorce is a new car stereo.
Yeah.
You're cruising in your car, you're listening to great music, your favorite song. And it's just it's like the problems in the world, you just sort of fade.
Exact opposite. Because I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't buy now. You shouldn't invest in anything right now. You should be saving your money, getting your shit on tight. And the guy's like, you're the strangest salesman, And then he comes back, right? And he's like, look, I want to get a stereo, but I just don't have much. What can I get for $300 with everything installed? That's pretty good, because now he trusts me. He knows me. He knows I know his situation.
Yeah.
And then he comes back. And when he comes down, it's like what we call a lay down sale. Because he's like, trust me. He's ready to buy right now. He's got the cash. He wants it in his car, right? At that point, he's a lay down. But in a good way. He knows what he wants and I know what he needs, right? So then I'll think about it. Because I like the guy by now. So I try to think of a really good system for him. His car, right? How big is the baffle in the door? You know what I mean? How is the bass going to sound in there? What do you want up front? Yeah. You know, how difficult is installation going to be? How much is that going to cost? And then I can, because I'm like an expert, so I can calculate the whole thing and go, I got it right here. You want these speakers in the back and nothing else. Those 2 speakers will bounce off there and everybody will tell you need in the front, but you fucking don't in this car. This car with those blasting, you know, or whatever, I think, you know. And then I can do it. So same thing if he says something like, let's see, what would be another thing? I wasn't planning on buying. I wasn't serious. And then I'd be like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, how was the movie? What'd you guys watch? Okay. Oh, cool. Was it any good? It sucked. That's terrible, you know, whatever. And then we start talking, we start looking at stereos. And then literally, I'm always looking like, is there a bunch of clients in the place or not? Because I like talking to people. I like talking. So if no one's in the place, like often when we're about that time, it's usually empty. So why not fucking talk to the guy if you want, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I just talk to him. And next thing, and the guy's like, he's like, fuck it, let's just get it. And he'll just do it. He'll just fucking buy it right then. Whereas like the other salesman, he'll leave. But I learned this from other good salesmen. You know, I had to learn from approaching, right? Like I'm teaching you how to approach. You gotta, you know, I wasn't naturally interested in sales, but I think a lot of people out there are lazy now. A lot of guys now, they think people are born with things and they're not born with anything. So fuck it, I'm just gonna smoke weed and take depression pills, right? That is not the right attitude. And it's not true either. I worked really hard to be a good salesman. I approached thousands and tens of thousands of different kinds of people. Old ladies, Indian families, young guys, muscle guys, famous guys, fat guys, women, groups of women, you know, company groups coming home from work. You know, I talked to all these different, you know, millions of different types of people. And flaming gay guys, you know, were like really, you know, that type, you know, where they're almost like dancing around the place. And actually those were good customers for me. Flaming gay guys love me. I don't know why, but they just like always buy.
You gotta have a good booming sound
They
system
always
to dance
fucking
around.
buy from me. They're like, you're fun. And they remember my name and everything. Sometimes they'll even say like, hey, I work at this place. Come by for a free cupcake or a haircut or whatever. Like they often are quite nice to me because they know I'm not gay, but they're like, he's fun, right? Yeah. He doesn't like judge me, right? Because I don't judge people. So I'm like, whatever, he's fun. You know what I mean? And so your real character will come out when you're approaching people. So, you know what I mean? Like they'll know who you are. So if you have a shitty personality you haven't worked on, then you're going to find that out in sales, right? Or approaching, right? Yeah. So that's the thing is you got to fix yourself first. Then you got to learn to approach, right? Or at least you got to approach, but always think about what are my weaknesses? How can I improve, right? Whether it's sales or whatever, right? Because in the end, it's 2 people, right? So the better you are as a man, right? The better you're going to do in that situation, right? Because you're approaching with you. You're taking you along every time you approach a new person, right? So, yeah. So let's see. Well, back to the original. This is all related, but what was the original idea?
Well, the original idea,
yeah,
it's kind of evolved past that, but
I'm going to go back to it.
Okay, the original idea is not just basically like when you start getting into something, you start studying it, right?
Oh yeah.
And what
Ideas
you do
tested,
is you're going to get into maybe it's philosophy or psychology. You're going to read a book about how to do sales or how to do business or how to pick up girls. And I fell in this trap before, and I see a lot of guys do, especially young guys. They kind of just become intellectuals in the sense of they just learn about it and think about it and theorize about it and talk about it, but they haven't actually gone out and done it. It's like reading books on surfing versus actually going out and surfing or whatever, right? Yeah. And I've gotten to a place where I got to go do it. and I want to do it, and I want to be around other people who go out and do it, and they're like, here's what I did, here's what happened, here's what I'm learning about it.
Yeah. So that is so deep. So I was talking about of sales and that real experience, right? But the real experience goes to so deep because I fucking hate people who do not test things because they're basically morons to me. Okay, and once you understand what I'm talking about, you're going to be like, he's fucking right. It's okay, let me think. There's basically frauds in the world. And what they're doing is just talking. So they're repeating ideas that they heard somewhere that they are theorizing about, right? Now you think that they need to go, like what you're saying is like they have to go and test ideas. They have to check. I say, no. These guys are way more losers than you think and way more bad than you think, right? They are the kind of guys without guts, without courage. These are the guys who will stab you in the back. See? Because they're basically evil to me. Because they do not have the guts and they have not built themselves into the man that can do things. And so they theorize. And so there's whole groups that get around. This is why I don't like churches. It's not that God or anything. It's that the problem in church is, okay, who can be the most religious? Okay, who can love whoever it is, Allah, Jesus, Muhammad, whoever the fuck it is, L. Ron Hubbard, whoever it is, like can be the most extreme in theoretical love, right? Because these people don't exist, so you can't actually love them, right? You can just talk about it.
You've
right?
never met them.
Yeah, they're not here. They might never even exist. Who knows? They're just some idea. And so they're talking to this idea, and then they're saying an idea of themselves. And this is what a lot of guys get involved with, is these poisonous groups. And here's why they're poison, is because there's never a weeding out. There's never like, hey, you're wrong. Get the fuck out of here. Right? See, this is why sales is beautiful. This is why pickup is beautiful. And this is why so many things that force you to actually do something. See, the thing is, we can all be lazy. We can all be losers. Right? That's why welfare is so bad. Is because when you get on welfare, you don't have to, no longer do you have to do anything. Right? From now on, you can just theorize. Right? But when you have to do something, it's not just doing it. It's confronting your fucking demons. It's your real fucking, this is the fucking challenge of a man. This is what you do, is you go do things, even if they're scary. That's just what you do till the day you die. You go do things, right? And then you find out shit, okay? So this is why soldiers that have been in battle, basically don't want to talk about it. Because the other guys, they never did it. So they don't know. They want to talk with guys who actually knew, who did it. Because they know on that battlefield, 80% of guys are pussies, right? They're not going to fucking do it. Right? But they know it's maybe even much less. Maybe it's like 5%, 3%, 1% that actually fucking go and start shooting to kill right away. Right? And they just go in, they charge that hill. They fucking do it. Right? And so most guys, they just talk shit. And then they wear the uniform, they come back, everybody treats them the same. They're totally fucking different. They're different men. Right? My friend was a fireman. I told him that story. He said, same with fires. Same with fucking fires. You go into a fire, right? When I say do it, I mean do it. Not just wear the uniform, get paid, and then be quote unquote doing it. I'm saying do it. So when you run into a fire, apparently in a big building, he told me, he said, the smoke will be coming from one place. And so an amateur will go to that smoke thinking the fire's over there. But a professional does not. He doesn't go to the smoke. Okay? He knows the fire is building up somewhere. And he's looking for that where it's like the heat is building, the pressure is building, right? And so the guys who don't do it in fires, so 4 guys go up into a fire. 3 guys go over to the smoke. They know it's not there. But they can't really be blamed, right? The boss told them to go in, they went in. Now it's private. It's 4 guys in there. And then my friend said, I always tried to figure out where the fire was. And that's the most dangerous place. Like as it blows up, the door blows open, you can't breathe, you get burned, So he always would look and wait, and then he would attack where he knew the fire was, right? And so that was the most dangerous thing. And he knew the other guys on the department. There was only a few guys, he told me, that actually fought fires. And so those guys were like blood brothers because they knew that the other guys were pussies, right? So when I say do stuff, I mean that kind of doing stuff, right? That's doing something, and everything else is fucking bullshit lies. Okay? So when you say an idea, if you didn't fucking do it, fuck you. Like, because you're wasting everybody's time and you're kidding yourself. Go do it. Go do it. And then see how it works, right? And then, here's the thing. Groups are like this. So churches, there's nothing wrong with churches, but the problem is, okay, so in sales, we all get hired. We all go out there. And then there's charts on the wall, right? And then whoever sells, they get kept on. And the other guys get fired, right? They just fade away, right? Other guys make it. They fucking get, whether it's however they do it, they make sales, right? And in the end of the day, good salesmen are just like I said. They're honest. They listen. They understand their product. They commiserate. They solve problems. You know what I mean? Like that's what you really do. Like to really sell, long term, to be a good salesman. That's what you do. You don't just run out there and pizzazz around. You actually know your product. I study my product every day, right? And I love my product before I even started selling. Like stereos, right? If I was buying stereos, I bought a $700, $50 pair of speakers when I was in 7th grade. You know what I mean? Like I cared about audio. I knew audio. We were building speakers. I had so many systems before I got my job when I was like 18 or 19, right? I'd already been buying stereos for like, let's see, since I was about 12, right? So 7 years and then I was really pretty knowledgeable about some things, but I had a lot to learn. I didn't know video or video cameras and all that, but we didn't have money for that. So or that was like a rich man's thing. We didn't, that wasn't big with us, but my family. But so avoid groups of men like this. So when I get in a group, I'm just looking like, here's the crazy thing. Someone will listen to my videos that I work my ass off to make. And my whole life, I'm working and trying ideas and thinking, not only does it work, but how did it work? Have things changed since then? Is it based on the way I look? Because I'm tall, short, fat, smart. Is it going to work for? I'm thinking of all these things, and then I present an idea. Now, sometimes I miss a couple details, and people can ask me any questions or come to Summit and talk. But the idea is true, right? And that's why people like my videos, I think. The main thing is that the ideas are tested, right? I've actually really thought about them and tried them. And then I tried to narrow them down, right, to good ideas. But there's whole groups of men who just sit around and talk shit. And nobody's ever done anything. And they're talking about ideas that they can't do. Like they can't build a rocket. They don't know if, like, conspiracies are the perfect guys. Like total pussies, right? Like if you think conspiracy is true, you should go out and start shooting people because they did something bad to you. And it's real. So you better start fucking, man's up, gets things done, right? But the truth is, most things are not conspiracies. Life is not that exciting, right? But guys like an exciting life. They're like old women drinking tea in the old days. They're just sitting around talking shit, getting all emotionally excited. I recommend avoiding these type of teams, these type of companies, these type of guys, these type of situations. I want to be in a situation where I am tested. So that's why I lived in Tokyo, for example. Like we were talking about this yesterday. Because like it's easier to meet girls outside Tokyo, for sure. Small towns, even Osaka is easier. But I wanted to be in a place where it was hard, where it was harder, where I had to challenge myself and improve myself. Because I knew I was going to be lazy, and I wanted to always be in a situation where I not only do it, am I the personality that wants to do it, but more importantly is I put myself in situations where I fucking have to do it, right? I went to commission sales, right, when I was 19. And that was a big deal, man. I was scared shitless. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was going to make it. I thought I was going to be broke. I thought I was just volunteering my time like the fucking Salvation Army. I was terrified, right? But then I went out and I sold stuff. And next thing you know, I was selling enough that I was making more than I used to make, right? When I was on salary, right? And so that salary plus a little commission, right? Go to the commission job. Go to the fucking pickup. Go to the fucking country and talk to people. And then once you become the man that I'm talking about, you will start to not to want to hang around with the other guys because you realize anybody can talk about stuff. They all can talk about it. Everybody has an opinion about it. But you always want to gravitate towards those people who are the type of people who test things. Now, some things you can't do. So there are things that are just ideas. But if the guys that you're talking to are the kind of guys who are not trying to get attention, they're not trying to change your mind. They're just telling you, here's what I saw. Here's what worked for me. You know what I mean? Like, here's the deal for me right here. And then you go, oh, that might work for me. Or I can't do that, but I understand how that fucking works. So once you know how life works, it might sound too theoretical, but it's true. One idea is helpful for another idea. It is. Like truth. The more truth you can amass, experiences and friends that talk truth and ideas, the more you can amass, you will start to be able to, you will be very good at saying, you know what? I don't think that's going to work. You don't know because you haven't tested it, but you get to the point where you've tested so many things that you get pretty good at knowing because you're like, you can kind of think out what that would be. Okay, if I did that business, I'd have to put out that kind of money. I'd have to have that kind of loan. I would need this many people. There would surely be some kind of a barrier from the government, license, something. I got to get through that. And so guys that are smart are not just like spouting off new business ideas every day because they're like most ideas, businesses fail, right? And so like, you don't want to be with people who are just like, oh, that would work. You should try that. You should open that. You should do that. It's like, no. Like a business guy is going to tell you what you don't want to hear. He's going to say that business, no one makes money in that business. That business, like, unless you got something super special, like people everybody loses money in that business. And then you're like, what? And so you have to go start a business, right? You have to start a business, right? And, or like I said before, work in a business, and that was another thing, kind of similar thing to being the man you want to be. We talked about the other day was there was people commenting on the last video about hard work. And they said, well, working hard for other people is a waste of time, right? It's a total waste of time. You're just going to get taken advantage of. Work for yourself, right? And that's total bullshit. Anybody who's in business knows that because the only way you become good in business is by basically seeing other people do it. So now if you're lucky and your dad has a business and you grow up seeing him do it, then you might be in a position where you can just go start one, right? But generally, like most of the time, you got to work in a business, see how it works, work in a good business, right? You got to pick the business wisely, right? Pick a business that has good systems, right? Like IBM in the old days, or like, a big, powerful company it's got a system for everything. And then you start to understand, here's how the systems work. Here's how you move up. Here's why you're valuable. Here's this, here's that. And then when you have that experience of doing things, then you can, and those harsh reality of how most things don't work in business. And then they paid for your education, basically. So you work for a company, it's so they can pay for you to go to college, basically. Your college is learning what is business, So that's why you work in a company. It's not so that the guy can say, good boy, and give you a bone, It's like the reason why you're learning is I want to learn as much as possible. And also, too, the reason why you work hard at those companies is because that's the man you are, okay? You can't turn it off and turn it on. This is what girls try to do. They try to be feminine. They're like total boss babes, boss bitches all the time. And then they think they're going to be feminine with one guy. Unfortunately, that doesn't work because it's your being.
Or if they put on a dress and do their hair,
yeah,
then that'll make them seem feminine.
Right.
I actually saw a video, video on Instagram, whatever that's night, where it's like, people say that girls with tattoos can't be feminine. And this girl who looked like totally burnt out, I mean, literally burnt out, puts on a red dress, which is not actually cute or feminine, but more like sexual. And then does her hair, puts on some kind of purple wig and bunch of makeup. And it's like, ta-da. And I'm like, you don't look feminine at all. Like, you just put on a dress and a wig. That you still look burnt out. You still look like someone who works the street at night. Like, that doesn't make you feminine just because you put on the costume.
Right.
So just because you dress the part doesn't mean that's who you are.
Right. It's a clumsy clown, basically. It's because they haven't tested themselves and like learned what femininity is. They think
she's not that. Yeah.
They think that she thinks that she knows what it is and she could do it anytime she wants. Yeah. So this is like the theoretical type. It's a good example. It's like, I could do that. And that's assuming you know what it is. I never assume I know something. I'm like, I'm going to work my ass off and see if I get sales, right? And then if I get sales consistently, then I'm going to find out how to get more sales. And eventually at some point, I'm going to say, okay, I understand this business, right? And then people can just ask me questions. That's why I like questions, is because people that haven't tried, they'll present something. They'll be even famous as an expert in something, giving, companies consulting, but they don't know how to do it. And so they don't like question and answer because it's too scary. I love question and answer because if I ever don't know anything, sometimes that's like something I couldn't see that I didn't know. Sometimes I might not know something, but it's just because it's not just because I could make a mistake. I could lie, right? It's possible. But generally I don't like to do that. So it's not my being. But sometimes I can't see something. I'm like, oh, right. I was always selling in this kind of situation. So for example, when I tried to sell ideas instead of products, I kind of thought it was the same. But selling services is selling ideas and selling products is products. So I had to relearn sales because I didn't know sales. I thought I knew sales, but I just knew sales of physical products I could show you. So this radio can do this. This machine, press this button, this does this, right? Listen to this, here it is right here. Selling an idea, like if you do this, your company is going to save 20%, annually in expenses and can cut this department, that department. That's an idea. Okay, that's an idea. So I had to learn how to do sales. Here, wait, before you go, give me one more, get me on track here. So I got to the end of an idea, right? So back to the original concept.
So go back into the original one. What's so cool and exciting about this for me is I've gotten to a place in my life and in my own growth where I want to know what I'm capable of. And I want to basically intentionally push myself into uncomfortable situations. This is what growth is all about, evolving. Basically, the letting go of the idea of who I am or what I was. Like, I used to be an introvert. And one day I was like, I don't want to be an introvert. I want to be the fun guy, the cool guy who can go around and meet people, make friends all around the world, and everyone can talk to, and I can talk to anybody. And I became that by letting go of that old idea of myself and just pushing myself out there and seeing if I was capable of that. And so now it's like similar thing. I want to know, like, you'll tell me about something you did, and or a specific thing, like, I pulled off this move, or I figured out how to sneak into this place, or I got this girl in this situation. And I asked myself, I think, could I do that? I wonder if I could. I bet I could do that. I want to know if I can. And that's what a lot of it is. Like, I want to find out, what am I capable of? What can I do? And the only way to know is by getting out there and doing shit and trying it out. Right. And then going to someone who's done it before. I'm like, oh, hey, man, this is what I did. This is my experience. It seemed like it didn't work out, but what happened? And you go, oh, okay, well, try it like this. And then I'll go out there and be like, all right. And it's like you get a new move. It's like a trick on a skateboard or something. Right. You're like, man, could I make that drop, or could I do that move? I bet I could. I want to find out if I can. Right. And so I'm in that state in my life now where I want to attempt, and I've been doing this for a while, but really intentionally pushing myself out of my limits and finding out what I can do.
It's not a stage. Okay, this is not a stage what you're in. This is now you've discovered how to live. Oh. Yeah, it's not a stage. You now are like, okay, I don't want people around me that don't know what they're talking about. Just talk about things they don't know. I don't want braggarts. I don't want theorizers. Like, I want to hang out with guys who are the kind of guys who go do things.
Yeah.
The testers.
That's who I want to be.
Yeah, like in companies, there's what's called, basically superstars, right? You want a superstar. A superstar is somebody who wants to finish a project. They want to get that project done. So a normal person you hire, they're going to constantly ask you what to do. They're like, oh, I don't know here. What should we do? What do you think we should do here? A superstar is like, okay, I got a project, right? I got an idea. Now I want to complete this project. Okay, so we have to build this thing, right? And we're running into problems. And he stays up all night. He talks to people. And then finally he comes out and he's like, he does the best he can to finish the project. And then he presents it to the boss, right? That's a superstar, because he might ask a couple questions, right? But his questions are based on, we've already done this and it didn't work. So now he would ask a question because in the interest of saving the company money. He's like, look, we tried this and I don't know if we did it wrong, but we did this and here's where we're at. It's not working right. So a superstar is not afraid of saying, it's not working. I don't know. Because he's like with a superstar, there's no mistaking things. It's clear. Like, it's not an ego thing. It's like a clear idea. It's like, we did this and then it didn't work. So, like, he's not like, he doesn't care. Like a normal person wants to cover up some kind of fault or mistake or wasting the company's money, right? But a superstar is like, he's like, I want to get the project done and I don't know how to do it. And then the boss is like, a dumb boss won't like him, right? And that's the other thing. You won't get rewarded for being a superstar from a non-superstar. So everything I'm teaching you is going to make most people not like you. Like, most people don't like this type of person because this is the type of person that shows them up. Like, this is the type of person who, like, you show up at like a charity event and, there's some guy up there presenting and then, he falls down and goes to the hospital or whatever. And then you have to stand up and take the mic and then you do a better job than him because you've been practicing all these different skills your whole life and just doing stuff. And then you're like, instead of letting the event die, you just jump up there and you're like, oh, we got, John in the hospital and blah, blah, and we got to, and then they're like, oh no. And they're like, he'll be in room 304. We'll keep you updated. You're just like off the cuff. You're just handling the situation. You know what to do. You've tried, you've talked in public before. You've improved yourself. And then now when it's needed, you're ready. So action isn't always about somebody running and doing something, because that often ruins everything. Like a kid who just runs out and just does something crazy to show he's doing something. It's like, no, your being is now stronger. Your knowledge of the world, of the real world, your understanding of physical forces, social forces, financial forces, political forces, and your own weaknesses is pretty strong. So your guess is pretty good. You could take an idea to a very, very experienced entrepreneur, and you would be surprised how good advice they could give you, even in another field. You could go up to somebody who's like very successful, and then they will blow you away because how much they know, because this is who they are to be that. And they might be a much better helper than someone who knows your field even. Because they're so solid as guys, right? And that's what you want ultimately. And you want to be in teams like that, and you want to be in groups like that, and you want to be that kind of guy. And one of the key things with that, okay, what is the key thing that is missing in modern society for men? There's one key thing. The key thing is that guys never get their ass kicked anymore. And they never get fired and kicked out of groups, right? When you come to a summit, if your shit's not together, eventually you're not going to do well because you're with a bunch of cool guys. So when you come to a summit, especially if you come to 2 or 3, you got to be the person that you want to be the person before you get there. And then everybody's like, whoa, that guy's fucking cool, right? And then you'll make the cool friends right away, right? But if you just come and say, oh, these guys are going to fix me. No. It's like you get an opportunity to be with guys that are doing what you want, right? But you got to be ready for that, right? And then when you come to the next summit, you got to be more ready for that, because you got to have improved the things that it was obvious that you were not good at, right? Maybe you had a temper tantrum. Maybe you were not very good at managing things, like just one little dumb thing, but like you never bought the card for the train, right? So every time we got to the train, we were waiting for you to buy a ticket, and that we missed the train a lot, and we're just sitting there, and you didn't notice because you're just buying your ticket, right? And you're thinking,
no, I noticed. I felt bad about it.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, because it's like, I need to go do this. And then I felt it, like, it was maybe after the 3rd time.
Yeah.
That you guys are like, all right, come on, man.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I got to get my ticket, like my card, because I can tell that I'm like bringing down the group.
Holding the group back.
And I know, I know better. I know I need this thing.
Right.
And so I just need to go do it. And then I wasn't the only one who needed a card, so then it kind of became the perfect opportunity. But when you realize, like, because there's 2 different things, like what you said. The one is that you might know that you've got a lot of problems that you need help on, and so you're going to come to learn from other people.
Sure.
The other thing is you might come thinking that you've got it going on, and you're going to teach everybody.
This is good.
That's how I was the first time.
Yeah.
I thought I had it pretty going on, and I was going to like teach you and other people about cool stuff that I learned, and I was living or theorizing about, or the things I had learned about. And then you get around guys who are like doing way better than you, or are really doing awesome and have these, everyone has their own, like, strengths, weaknesses, right? Or is there different things that they are knowledgeable about? Yeah. And so you get around people who are really kicking ass, and you're like, oh man, I've got way more work to do. I thought I was doing great, but now I've just stepped into a higher level. And so it kind of works both ways. Like, you got to come open-minded, but also like humble in the sense of like, yeah, you may have something to teach, but just come to figure you're going to learn a bunch of stuff. And then usually what happens after my first summit was I went home and I was like, oh my God, I got to get my shit together. And I kind of disappeared for a couple of years as I was grinding and doing everything I learned about, and doing shit and pushing my limits and building my life up and getting to a place where then I could come back and be, when I came back to the LA summit last year, then I was a cooler guy. And then I still had things to work on, but I'd gotten to a place where I was like, now I feel like I can roll with these guys. I feel more comfortable. And then it's been a huge growth journey in this past year since then. Because I just keep going like, I want to get better. I want to learn more. And then I'm around guys who are like doing that in their lives. And I'm seeing people taking off. I'm like, I want to get mine too. I want to, and we're encouraging each other and pushing each other. But it's really that mentality of like, I want to do shit. I want to learn from people who are doing shit. And then I want to find what's my best way, and then go do that. And then next time I see you guys, it's like, oh, dude, I've been doing this. No way, you're doing that. And we just get more and more fired up for each other. And each one of us is like basically, if you really want to have something to offer to people, you have to go do shit, try something new. Then you can bring that experience and that information, that knowledge, that wisdom to people and say, oh, hey, so remember when we talked about this idea? I actually went and did it a bunch of times. Here's what I found out. Here's what happened. And then people are interested. They're like, whoa, no way, you actually did that.
You fucking did that.
Yeah, you did that. Cool. And then you have something to offer people. And you have more that you can learn from as well, because you have more direct experience and knowledge.
Right. I want to contrast that. And some of you probably didn't even think about, but because you did it naturally, but I want to contrast that with another guy who came to summits. And the big difference in you two guys is, the best way to put it is this. Every time that he would meet again, he would say, I have grown so much. I'm a different person now. I have grown so much. So his opinion of himself was that he had grown so much. But honestly, the other guys in the group, nobody agreed. Okay, nobody thought he had grown that much. But because he was so sure, and then the kind of guy who thinks he's grown so much and really hasn't is the same exact person, right? They're not the same kind of person. No one's going to say anything because they're like, this guy's fucked. Like, there's no way to change this guy's mind at this point. Now, maybe in the future, like, no one's hopeless, right? There's always hope. But some people are more hard-headed than others, right? And some people are hopeless, right? So you gotta be careful because you can be hopeless in life, and you're just gonna have a fuck life, and there's nobody there to fix it or even to complain to. But anyway, so he would always say, "I've totally different person. I had this huge awakening, and now it's totally different." And like you were saying that, but I would say that it was not a theory. Okay, everybody in the group, I see the way the groups act at summits, and at the first summit, you were welcome. Like, you were fun to be around, like, for sure, at the La Jolla Summit. I think everybody liked you, right? You were very likable, like, for sure. And you were young, and you were all fired up. But, like, did anybody really contact you after the summit?
I think I made like one friend.
Okay.
One friend.
Yeah. So when a guy comes to the summit and he's really cool, like, everybody's going to want to meet with him later and hang out with him, right? And so as now, when you leave a summit, right, you're going to be getting messages all the time, pictures, and that's the reaction from people wanting to be around you because of who you are, who you've become, right? Yeah. So you've become a different person, and you fill a different role at summits now, too, because you're kicking ass, right? And so you can see the reaction in others' reactions. If you leave the group and then nobody really wants to talk to you that much, it's pretty bad sign, because they are definitely selected guys here, and everybody's really trying, right? And like, guys are not coming like all fucked up. Like, guys are pretty tight at summits, actually, in their own way. Everybody's got a different personality, right? So you can trust the reaction of a group, I believe. And so if you're not getting contacted, ask. Then you got to say, wait, what am I? Because you're always going to connect with one person, right? There's always one person you make a friend with, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's different than the respect that you get for being a leader, for being a guy who's on his way up, right? Who's doing well, who people want to be around. They want to be around more. They invite him to the house, right? Because you can be around in someone's house. Like, what happened, the reason why they don't want him around the house is they know the guy's fucked up, and eventually something fucked up is going to happen, right? Where if a guy has got his shit wired tight, they know that they're going to gain from being around that guy more, because he might have more ideas to share. They might have a more subtle distinction on an idea that they thought they knew, they didn't really know. And he'll be a trusted voice. They can bounce ideas off. And also, they trust him not to tell everybody, right? His idea, business or whatever, girlfriend or whatever, right? So because they trust his confidentiality and basically essentially his manhood, right? And so as you get better, you will find that your role will change. And it's not based on your own belief system. This is what basically women do. Women are like, oh, I totally changed. Now I'm all about peace and love. And, I'm no longer a 304. I'm a whole new person, It's like, basically, if you're a 304, you're a 304 for life. Unless you just are the luckiest.
The streets.
Yeah. Yeah, you're who you are is who you're going to be till the day you die, basically. 99%. The only way you break out of that is very, very hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no miracle coming. There's no train coming. There's no one coming to save you. There's no one that gives a shit. You have a choice, right? And you have to decide, is I'm going to do it now. Like you said, when I had a good idea, you just go do it right now, right? You try to get the idea. I know you don't rush off. You think of the idea and you try to get it as best you can. And then you're like, okay, like, why not do it right now? I was telling you Japanese strawberries were good, and they just came in a season, and there was some at the store, and you're like, I saw you when we got home. Like, oh, you had the strawberries,
Yeah, you're like...
Because you figured, well, he's told me other food that are good, and so why not fucking buy them? They're right here,
Yeah, it's hilarious. You pointed out to me, and you're like, oh, these strawberries are right in season. This is going to be great, and it's actually a great price for what they normally are. I'm like, okay, cool. And then we get back to the hotel here, and you see me wash the strawberries. And I'm like, no way, you actually got strawberries? I'm like, well, yeah. You said I should try them, so I am. And that's the perfect example of who I am now. Like, you said, here's a great idea, so I'm doing it. Like, that's how I know if I like it or not. And then if it was wrong, if those strawberries tasted like crap, then I'd be like, oh man, Ronan was wrong about this one.
Yeah, or maybe
this is a bad batch.
Earlier.
But
yeah.
at least I tried it. But I'm
Yeah.
like, no, those strawberries are the best strawberries I've ever had. Like,
Yeah.
they were really tasty. They were really good.
Yeah,
I
okay.
ate like 12 of them in a row,
Nice. Yeah, and so that's the thing too, is like people that listen to Summit videos, once in a while, they'll say, oh, it's a bunch of sycophants who just do whatever Ronin does, right? Or agree with whatever he says. And that is a big, big misunderstanding of the group. I believe that's a very, very big misunderstanding because this whole video. It's because of this whole video is you need to try new things. If you don't want to do the same things you're doing, if you want to learn anything, a language, how to travel, how to eat, if you want more muscle, if you want to change anything, you need to listen to somebody and follow exactly what they say until you're good enough that you can go on your own and say, I've mastered it. So karate is a perfect example. You want to learn karate. Yeah, you want to learn jiu-jitsu. You listen, you find the best teacher you can, and you listen to everything they say, and you practice exactly what they say. You're not a sycophant. You are a student who is learning, right? A student who is learning is very different than a sycophant. A sycophant is an idea. So, for example, Rolling Stones are the best band ever. And then someone's like, oh, they're the best band ever. So that's the difference. A sycophant is just basically an idea. Like, you're just agreeing with ideas. With when you're learning, you are integrating a new concept that you want to integrate. Okay? So you wanted to learn this, and now you're with the person that you want to learn from. And it's not that you think they're great. It's that you think they know this idea. And you want that idea integrated into your head so that it's first nature. So you practice jiu-jitsu, you practice. And then when you get into a fight, or same with the military, you clean your gun, you put it together, you take it apart, you do it in the dark. And then what happens in battle? Something breaks, you got to take it apart, you got to clean it, you got to put it back together. There's mud everywhere. People are shooting at you. It's dark. But guess what? You've practiced it a million times. And now you clean it, and like bam, bam, bam. And then you can help your friends and not get killed, right? So you win, 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 right? But it's because you had an idea you wanted to learn. So when people come to summits, I think in general, people are trying to learn many things. You guys could probably tell me, but I think there's a lot of concepts I talk about. And they're like, I want to learn those concepts from his perspective. Okay, I want to master those concepts. And I don't care what people think. Like, I want to learn these concepts, right? It's not an ego thing. It's like, I want to know how to paint, right? So you talk to a painter and you're like, how do you fucking do this? You know what I mean? And then the guy will teach you. And so everybody that's not doing anything or just talking about ideas, it's like, it's like very few people come from the channel to summits. I mean, numbers wise, right? Like, there's been like 3 or 4 million views on the channel, but how many people actually have come, right? Hundreds, but not that many, right? Compared, right? So it's like the guys who do come are very selected, and they've decided, like, fuck it. The way I'm doing this is not working, or I want a new way, or I've never done that and I want to do that, right? And they're like, that guy knows, so I'm going to go meet him in person because that's the best way to learn. You can listen, but you got to see it. And
and to be around, to meet and be around other men who are also doing that.
Yep.
Because that's really inspiring and can actually boost your growth up really quickly.
100%.
Is by, light years, is by being around other guys who are doing it, and you see what they're doing, how they're learning, how they're applying it, and you get all fired up from it. Like, we get each other fired up. We're like, yeah, let's go. And then you see each other again, and it's like, and you keep in contact. It's like, oh, man, have you done that idea you're talking about? Like, yeah, I did, or oh no, I didn't. And you kind of keep each other accountable that way.
Yeah.
And so not just learning from someone who's done it as a student, but being around other students who are also fired up and can share ideas with each other and experiences with each other. It's really great.
No doubt. And like, so along that line of thinking, like when I think of a guy like Ryan, right? That guy has so many skills. You know what I mean? Like, he is amazing. And so those type of guys tend to come to summits too, and they already have a really well-honed selection of amazing skills. And they tend to come because they're like birds of a feather stick together. They'll listen to me talk and they'll be like, yeah, I can relate to that guy. I'm going to go to the summit. I'm going to meet him in person, see what we can do,
Yeah.
And then just kind of like, let's hang out, we'll at least we're two similar guys, right? Fuck it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also the last thing I'll say is like, it's the subtleties that get you. It's like, you knew how to approach her, but it didn't work. And then you were like, fuck. And then I was like, I showed you exactly. I told you last night, but it wasn't until this morning, because even for me, I know the concept, but sometimes I think you know a bunch of things that you don't know yet. So I think, you've seen a bunch of guys do this. You haven't seen anybody do this. This is the first time you're hearing the idea. See, for me, I taught people and then I saw them do it, and I've watched people approach, and I realized, yeah, that little pause, right? So a lot of things, like little micro skills that I've learned from other things or whatever, they all come together into that movement and that mindset.
Yeah, and I've gotten pretty good and comfortable and confident in doing what you might call indirect approach or an indirect pickup, where you're just kind of in the area, you ask them about something, and then you get a conversation going, and it works with my personality. It's very good.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just rely on that. I want to be able to do direct, straightforward.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Fox.
Fuck yeah.
I'm a great guy.
Yeah,
I like
you
you.
got it.
And that's
Because
why
I felt it. I was like, okay,
and that's why I wanted to do that. I want to get that new move, because I'm like, just rely on the other, it kind of becomes a gimmicky. I want to know that I can anywhere at any time just be there and meet someone and get them. And that's a whole new skill set. That's another evolution of myself.
And you know what that is? What you're doing is you're learning how to either promote ideas, companies, right? Or do sales, right? Or business development. Yeah, manage partnerships, right? And also to get businesses going, raise money, right? You raise money by approaching people. You got to find out who to approach, but then you approach them and you have to, make a certain, so you're learning skills that's why I talk about pickup, is because it's a great skill, because it's so scary to most guys, and it's so scary. And then it pushes you to do stuff. And those skills are useful in your life. It's not even for pickup. It's like you're going through a lot of fear, and you realize that you can make friends anywhere you go. I can walk in any city, make a bunch of friends. In a few weeks, I know people, and I'm comfortable there. I made so many friends when I was in India that they're still friends today. I made it in 99. Like good friends, like in Chennai, And then we keep in touch, They're great. Anytime I have a question about India, I call them. Like some kind of business idea or whatever, and then I'll say, what's really going on over there? Like, you know what I mean? And they'll be like, oh yeah, that guy, everybody hates him. Don't worry. I know what they say, but no. And they'll give me the lowdown. Cause for me, like one of my things is I always want to know the lowdown. I want to know the lowdown. So what's really going on anyway?
Dirty lowdown.
Yeah. I want to know what the fuck is really happening in different, I'm very interested in like geopolitics and what's going on. Yeah. So I very much appreciate a very honest person from a country that I'm not from, because they'll just tell me like, and it's not about, I'll just say the last thing, it's not about being honest, because honest, again, it's just an idea. It's a certain kind of man that could tell me what's going on in the country, and I would believe them, right? Because they're a certain kind of man. So I'm like, you know what? That guy's opinion is pretty fucking valuable. It might not be the final answer, but I now know from a guy in that country, and it makes sense what he said. Like everything he said is very congruent, and the guy is a very trustworthy masculine dude who I trust, the way he talks, the way he jokes, the way he stands, the way people react to him, and I'm like, that guy's a good guy, And then he tells me something. I'm like, thank you, because now I kind of know, because you don't have time to learn all the details everywhere in the world. But once you get this skill of like first being the man, but then once you become the man, it becomes easy to spot them, other guys who are like this, and then they can help you shortcuts a lot, just to say, hey, don't waste time in here with that. That's not going to work here. And you don't take it personally, because you're like, this guy, he knows what's up, right? So what would work? And he says, well, let's try this. And then you try it and it's like, boom, So it's a shortcut. These guys are shortcuts. So that's why I always like to have a good, what's that called? A group of guys that I can trust to talk to. So I have certain people in the world that when I have a question about something, like one time there was a coin and it was called OneCoin, right? And it ended up being a scam. But when OneCoin came out, the way it was presented to me was pretty interesting. So I called my friend in Japan, John, and he knows everything about Bitcoin. And I said, John, what do you think about this? And this is in the very beginning of the coin. He goes, I don't know, but it seems like a scam. And I was like, that's all I need to know. If John, the guy that I know knows everybody and started in the very beginning, and that guy is fucking knowledgeable. Like, so, he's from New Zealand. Australia. He's so fucking quiet and so smart and knowledgeable. And when he says that, see, that's my shortcut. That's my trick in life. Is like I have guys I can ask a question, and then I'm just like, pretty damn good chance that's true. And it's enough that I'm not going to put one penny in that. And I'm not going to tell anybody about that. And when they say that, I'm just going to ignore it because John said it. So I have these guys that know certain fields, and I can call them and then just say, what's the lowdown here? Right? And I try to be that for them. So when I say something, it has fucking meaning, right? And then and they'll listen to that. And if you ever are wrong too many times, then there's something wrong with the way you're doing information, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the concept. What is this called? What is this video called?
I don't know. How to be a cool guy or a great guy, doing it versus theorizing.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah,
that's like the core concept.
It's like Nike.
Yeah, doing shit versus just thinking about it and talking about it.
All right.
You can call it whatever you want.
No, it's good. That's good.
How you wins.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for listening. All right. We're in Japan. We're at the end of the trip. It's fucking beautiful day. Sunny. Somebody here is going on a date. We're going out with friends. It's going to be fucking great.
Call it whatever you want.
I'm meeting like old friends from college. Why do I have old friends from college? Because I was a good fucking friend, right? For like 35 years, and that's why, right? So you build the structure of your life, and it makes your life easier. You get better information. Life is way easier to live this way. It's hard to be that man, but once you do it, life becomes much easier. Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks for listening.